Hi, welcome to Show and Tell. Today I'm going to show you and tell you how to make one of our family's favorite treats, homemade pretzels. I assume you're familiar with the kitchen with the materials and the utensils, but I'll show you a few pictures as we go along, hopefully to answer any questions you may have. The first thing I do whenever I'm going to cook is tie my hair back out of the way. The first thing to do for making pretzels is to gather all your ingredients. This is flour, hot water, sugar, salt, oil, and baking soda, and yeast. I begin by putting 2 cups of flour and 1 1/4 cups of hot water with 1 slightly rounded tablespoon of yeast and the same amount of sugar in my mixing bowl and stirring for about a minute. Then I leave that mixture with the lid on the mixing bowl and I go do something else for a few minutes, maybe read a chapter in the scriptures. And while I'm doing that, I also grease a bowl for later for the dough to rise. When the time goes off, I add the rest of the sugar, which is a total of a 1/2 cup, a tablespoon of oil, a teaspoon of salt, and another cup of flour, and mix well. Then I add another cup of flour. We're up to 4. While that is blending, I look at the beaters, and if your dough is gathered around the beater, you probably have your dough stiff enough. If not, you can add up to another cup of flour, a few tablespoons at a time. This dough needs to be pretty stiff. Then you're going to turn the dough out onto a floured or greased surface. The trick here is if you're using white flour, you need to use a floured surface and you flour your hands when you're working with it. If you're using wheat flour in your dough, then you're going to use an oiled surface and you're going to oil your hands to work the dough. To knead the dough, you make a rough circle shape on your working surface, and you flatten it out, and then you're going to fold in the edges and flatten it out again to a circular shape, and keep doing that over and over to work the dough and turn it and fold it again. If it starts to stick to your work surface, you either add more flour or more oil depending on which kind of flour you're using. This kneading process builds up the gluten in the dough and helps your pretzels to have a nice chewy texture. Then you put your ball, it should be a nice smooth ball by the end of 5 minutes, of dough into your greased bowl and turn it over so all the sides of the dough are oiled. And you're going to cover and let it raise until it has doubled in size. This usually takes about an hour. There is a secret here. If you want, you can make the dough in the morning, put it in the refrigerator, pull it out again after work or after school, and make the pretzels for family home evening treat. But there is really no way of telling exactly how long it will take to rise. Just remember the dough has to raise to at least doubled size before you start shaping your pretzels. After your dough has doubled, you're going to get your pans ready, get them oiled, and you're going to get your baking soda, kosher salt, measuring cup, and hot water ready. You're also going to preheat the oven. You're going to use your clean hands or a rubber scraper, turn out the dough onto your prepared work surface, and divide it into approximately 20 egg-shaped balls, egg-sized balls. The original recipe said to use 12, but I found that those pretzels were too huge to fit on my baking sheets, and so we prefer making 20 smaller pretzels. You're going to roll each egg-sized piece of dough into a long, skinny snake, like you probably used to do with Play-Doh or clay. And then you're going to take each snake when it's about 20 inches long and as thick as a pencil. You're going to twist the ends together about an inch in from either end, and then flip the ends across the loop that's left in the middle and press to make a traditional pretzel shape. Of course, if your children are helping you, you may not have a traditional pretzel shape. You may end up with butterflies or dragons or any other shapes. Adult will need to do the next part though. You're going to take that dough that you've made into a pretzel shape and dip it into this hot water baking soda mixture. That is what gives you the nice golden brown color on your pretzels. After it's dipped, you lay your pretzel down onto a nice greased baking sheet, and then you're going to sprinkle it with a pinch of kosher salt. There's the kosher salt. It takes approximately 1/8 of a teaspoon for each pretzel. After your whole pan is full, you're going to put it in your nice clean oven, unlike mine, and you're going to bake it at 400 degrees for approximately 8 minutes until they're nice golden brown. If you want, you can of course bake them longer and they'll be more crispy instead of chewy, but our family likes them chewy. When you remove them from the oven, you can leave them on the pan for a minute or two, but do remove them from the pan while they're still warm and enjoy them. There's our 20 pretzels. My seminary class loves them and our grandchildren love them, and I know you will too. Give it a try.